Okay, I'd like to get started by welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is what we call our Pali Canon and English study group, which I'll explain to you guys what that is a little bit later. We start each one of our sessions with meditation, so I'll guide you guys in a breathing mindfulness meditation session. This is one of the primary forms of training that the Buddha used in addition to other things to be able to get his mind to enlightenment. What enlightenment is, where the mind is completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You no longer experience any discontent feelings. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of that can be eliminated from the mind by training the mind. Oftentimes people think that it's the outside world that's causing these feelings, but it's actually what's going on in your own mind. So everything that the Buddha taught is all about training the mind. We start each one of our sessions with this meditation where we start with some chanting to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally, where today we use books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, things like this to be able to study the teachings. They didn't have that 2,500 years ago. YouTube wasn't invented yet. So they used recitation of the teachings or chanting. What we use it for today is we use it as a way to ease the mind into the meditation to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. But during the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used as a learning tool, as a learning device. So if you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to, but just understand that it's not a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or any of those kinds of things. None of those kinds of things actually exist in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing people performing rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer associated with the teachings of the Buddha, he never taught any of those things. Those are misunderstandings of his teachings. So the chants that I'm going to be doing, they're over there on a laminated sheet on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself and get one and chant along. If you'd like to get help to ease into the meditation, it'll actually help you to get more benefit out of the meditation. Yeah, you're welcome to help yourself to a chanting sheet. For the people who are online, you'll find this on our website. If you go to buddhadailywisdom.com and you click on free books and you scroll down towards the bottom, you're going to see the daily chanting sheet there. And that's what we're going to be using here as a way to chant along and be able to help ease your mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. As you guys are getting these chanting sheets, if you end up reading the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, "Here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me." This would be ego or arrogance if someone did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't think of yourself as being above other people or below other people either. So the Buddha would have just thought of himself as being the same as everyone else. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, and frustration and all these other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you'd probably have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think these actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. After the chanting, I'm going to come in with some guidance where I'll be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where everyone's meditating here at the temple and anyone joining online. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence and you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. But if you understand that the world around you is constantly changing, it is impermanent, then when you hear a sound, you understand that that's exactly the way the world works, that there's not going to be a situation where you're in permanent silence. There's going to be sounds. They're going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. This is the way the world works. And you can rest at ease being in meditation, understanding this is the way the world works, not allowing your mind to experience any discontent feelings. This is actually the problem that the Buddha discovered in the unenlightened mind, is that it craves permanence while it lives in an impermanent world. After that period of time of quietness, we're going to come out of that with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand what the Pali Canon and English study group is, and helping you to learn the teachings of the Buddha so that you can understand more of what he taught and how to move the mind to this enlightened mental state. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like assembling a tool belt and using the different tools that you need at different times. So there's a purpose behind each one of these positions. Oftentimes, the seated position is where people are learning. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on this just to help you get started. And then if you'd like to learn these other positions, you can learn in our various classes, courses, and retreats, and that'll help you to be able to learn them. So you could be sitting on the floor, in a chair, or a bench, or a sofa, or in a wheelchair. There's not just one fixed way to sit, because that would be permanence. And we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world where different people are going to find different things to be comfortable. So you can sit however you like. There's not just one way to sit. You can use something that I'm sharing with you here, or you can come up with something on your own. You should consider what I'm teaching you here as suggestions or recommendations in terms of your body position, because you're not training the body, you're actually training the mind. So what you would like to do is make sure that the body is comfortable, not painful, and not luxurious. You would like it to be in the middle where it's comfortable. So if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will help soften your seat a bit. Some people like to bring their legs together in the cross-leg position. If you're going to do that, you might just decide to do that lightly, whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, and it allows the circulation to flow. So you might decide to do something like that. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here as well. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or on their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. The same thing's true for anyone who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting here in a chair with my legs crossed, so this is an option for you as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. It's helpful if your upper body is erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because this will help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back. Not only will it help you to be able to breathe in through the nose, not only will it help you to keep your mind attentive and alert, but it'll also help you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So if you'd like to join along in the chanting, you're more than welcome to, and then I'm going to come back in with the chant, with the guidance afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Wat Tung Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakawa arahang samasamoto vicacaranang samuno sakatoro kawitu anutero purisa dhamma sati satatawa manusran poto pakawati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here, you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Emakewa Potang Makewanang Apivateami Savakato Emakewata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Emakewato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Oto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good morning to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone online as well. This is called breathing mindfulness meditation. This is a primary form of training in addition to other things that the Buddha used in order to make his way to enlightenment. Oftentimes people think the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment, and this isn't actually true. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that's going to lead to your enlightenment, where the mind can be completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, where you no longer experience anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. You can eliminate all of this by training the mind. This meditation is an important component to it, but there's other training that you need as well. And that's why, in addition to meditation, I help you guys to understand those teachings that it takes to be able to move the mind to enlightenment. What the Buddha did is he figured out that there's these individual pollutions that are in the mind in the unenlightened state. And when you train your mind and you uproot those pollutions, you'll experience more and more of the qualities of enlightenment. Not only will you eliminate those discontent feelings, but you'll notice that the mind is focused. You'll have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because with these pollutions in the mind, you'll actually be hindered from having those qualities. You'll lack concentration, focus, clarity, and memory. You'll notice that by the time you get to enlightenment, all your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming, because in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility in your mind, and you'll put that out through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, oftentimes thinking that it's other people that are causing these things to occur, where in reality, it's coming from your own mind. And when you put out that bitterness, harshness, and hostility, it just comes back to you. You can look in your relationships where you're struggling the most and having the most difficulties. With you being bitter and harsh and hostile, it's all coming back to you in those relationships. So you can improve all of that and get to a point where all your relationships are harmonious. But it starts with training your own mind. Oftentimes people think the way to get to better relationships is to change the other person. But in reality, what you're doing is you're working on your own mind. That's what the Buddha is teaching you, is to do this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development. It's not rules and commandments. It's not rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer. It's not about anybody telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing. It's about doing this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development, becoming a better and better human being. That's what the Buddha's teachings are here to guide you to do. So we have various programs here that help you to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. On Saturdays, we have what's called our Pali Canon and English study group, which I'll explain to you guys what this is. But let me first share with you these other programs, because there's other programs that are actually more foundational for you. Like on Sundays and Wednesdays, we have what's called our group learning program, which each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in this book. This is the first book of our book series. And I go chapter by chapter, helping you guys to be able to understand the path to enlightenment over a 7-month period. And you can attend these classes here in Chiang Mai, but you can also attend online, because I live stream all of our classes. So you can attend by live stream, or you can watch the recordings on YouTube, Facebook, or on our podcast. There's many ways for you guys to be able to do this, and it's all available to you at no cost. Tomorrow, on Sunday, I'm going to be in chapter 24. We're coming towards the end of the program, and we're going to be restarting it on the 9th of August. And what I'm going to be teaching tomorrow is what's called the misunderstandings of the teachings of the Buddha. This is chapter 24, because in the world, there's many, many misunderstandings of his teachings. In the world, there's about 500 million people who consider themselves to be Buddhist, but very few of them actually study with the original words of the Buddha. And this is why we see so many misunderstandings. So I'm going to talk about some of these common misunderstandings, because if you practice these types of things, it's not going to lead you to enlightenment. The Buddha cautioned us about changing his teachings, that as soon as you change his teachings, they're not effective any longer to be able to get to enlightenment. So what I do here is I help people to be able to see what did the Buddha teach, and I help you to see what the Buddha didn't teach as well. So tomorrow, I'm going to be sharing all the misunderstandings, or at least a lot of them, that you're going to see in the world. And then we have various courses and retreats, different opportunities for you to learn. Like tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., we have a meditation here where I'm going to be doing loving kindness meditation with students, helping them to be able to train their mind to eliminate anger, hatred, and ill will. This is at 6:30 tomorrow. It syncs up to the Sunday night walking market. Oftentimes people think that anger and hostility is coming from other people, but it's actually coming from your own mind. You can eliminate all of that, not just the anger and hostility you have towards others, but sometimes people carry around this negative self-talk, this inner dialogue where you're degrading and diminishing yourself. You can get rid of all of that. If you have even the slightest dislike towards another person, that dislike is coming from your own mind. The mind is craving permanence and wanting everybody to be a certain way. And when they're that way, you like them. But when they don't do things your way, then you have this dislike that comes up in your mind. So you can eliminate that, where you can get to the point where you have love and kindness for all beings, not putting expectations on others and attempting to force them to be a certain way. And this meditation tomorrow at 6:30 will actually help you to be able to accomplish that. And then all next week, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., I'm going to be teaching our course. It's called Harmony in Relationships. This is going to help you to understand how to improve your relationships and get to a point where you have harmony in all your relationships, whether it's your parents, your siblings, your life partner, your children, friends, family, coworkers. You might be struggling in some of these relationships, and you can improve this through training of your mind. It's not changing the other person that's going to improve what you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So these are the types of programs that people usually take as they're first getting started on the path to enlightenment. And I teach in a traditional format where I teach for like 15, 20, 30 minutes. I open up for questions. I teach another 15, 20, 30 minutes, open up for questions. This program on Saturday is a bit different. On Saturday, what we do is it's called the Pali Canon and English Study Group. What the Pali Canon is the largest, most complete collection that we have of the teachings of the Buddha. It's in the Pali language. That's why we call it the Pali Canon. It's 45 books that are about this thick. What our community has done is we've consolidated this into 13 books, and then we give it away for free, because the average person doesn't actually have access to the Pali Canon because it's so costly to be able to acquire. Here in Thailand, it would take about 3 months of your salary to be able to acquire a complete collection of the teachings of the Buddha. And most people don't own any book collections that's worth 3 months of your salary. But by consolidating it and making it available for free, then everybody and anybody can get access to it. And now more and more in the world, people can understand what did the Buddha actually teach and what he didn't teach. So if you'd like to get access to any of the resources that we share, they're actually available for you for download from our website. You can get them for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for our printing costs so that we can use that to purchase more books, or you can order it on Amazon if your country has access to Amazon, and that way you get access to the original words of the Buddha. So in this program each Sunday, what we do over a 1.5 year period is we explore volumes 2 through 13, where all the other foundational programs, they explore volume 1. In this program, what we do is we do it a little bit different. It's not the traditional style of learning. Today, we're actually in volume 6 of our book series, which is titled The Natural Law of Kamma. We're going to be starting with chapter 21 from this book. So what we do is, instead of me teaching for 15, 20, 30 minutes and opening up for questions, I invite students here or on Zoom to be able to read a chapter. These are the original words of the Buddha. And you can see this chapter isn't even a full page. It's only about a half a page. And after a student reads this particular chapter, then I'm going to share some teachings on that. And then I'm going to open up for any and all questions that you might have. If you're here at the temple and you would like to volunteer to read, or you would like to ask questions, we have microphones in the white bowls. There's one in the middle of the room there. There's one here as well. Just get a microphone, press the gray button. You'll see the lights come on, and you hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you might decide to share it with them. And if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. Anybody who's online, if you would like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, and I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like. So I'll show you guys how this works. Would somebody like to read this first chapter? Yeah, we got 2 volunteers. Up to you guys.
Chapter 21, all that occurs without a cause or condition. Then, monks, I approached those ascetics and Brahmins who hold such a doctrine and view as this: whatever this person experiences, whether pleasure, pain, or neither pain nor pleasure, all that occurs without a cause or condition. And I said to them, is it true that you, venerable ones, hold such a doctrine and view? When I ask them this, they affirm it. Then I say to them, in such a case, it is without a cause or condition that you might destroy life, take what is not given, indulge in sexual activity, speak falsehood, produce argumentative speech, speak harshly, indulge in idle chatter, that you might be full of longing, have a mind of ill will, and hold wrong view. Those who fall back on absence of cause and condition as the essential truth have no interest to do what should be done and to avoid doing what should not be done, nor do they make an effort in this respect. Since they do not apprehend as true and valid anything that should be done or should not be done, they are muddle-minded. They do not guard the mind, and even the personal designation ascetic could not be legitimately applied to them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So here, this is a teaching on the natural law of Kamma. What the natural law of Kamma is, you might have guys heard this as karma. This is the Sanskrit version of this word, where the Pali version is Kamma. And if this translated to just one English word, I would just use that word because it'd be easier for everyone. But unfortunately, it doesn't translate to just one English word, so I still need to use this word Kamma. When we talk about awakening to enlightenment, or to become awake and enlightened, what we're talking about is the cultivation of wisdom to be able to train the mind where you understand the natural laws of existence. In this world, there are certain natural laws that are affected by each individual person is affected by this. And whether you're aware of these natural laws or not, they affect you. It's like the natural law of gravity, that every single one of us, we didn't understand the natural law of gravity. We had no idea it even existed when we were a little kid, but it still affected us, whether we were aware of it or not. And because we didn't understand that natural law, we struggled and we had difficulties. We fell down, we hit our head, we bumped our elbows, we broke our toys, and we cried and cried and cried because we didn't understand the world that we lived in. But slowly but surely, you would say that we cultivated wisdom about that natural law. We never believed in it. We actually saw that it's true. We can actually see it with our own eyes. Nobody's believing that the natural law of gravity exists. We can see the truth for ourselves. We've independently verified it. So that's what the Buddha is guiding you to be able to do, is independently verify these natural laws that he's actually teaching. Because when you live in a world that you don't understand, you will struggle and you will have difficulties. That's what the anger is, the stress, the anxiety, the frustration. It's that you're living in a world that you don't understand, and now your mind's struggling and having difficulties. But when you awaken, cultivating wisdom about these natural laws, you'll be able to navigate the world peacefully and joyfully. You won't experience anger and frustration and all these other discontent feelings any longer. So now we might say that we're fully awake to the natural law of gravity, meaning that we fully cultivated wisdom about this natural law. And that's why we tie our shoes tighter, that we stop being so giddy and bouncing around like a kid all the time. We look at the surface of the sidewalk when we walk to make sure that we're not tripping and falling. And that's why we experience improved results. We don't struggle with the natural law of gravity anymore. This is why we can climb ladders, we can ride bicycles, we can get on airplanes and fly all over the world, because we fully awoke. We have this wisdom of the natural law of gravity. And now we make wiser decisions and we experience improved results. In fact, if we fall down now, we'd probably start laughing to a certain degree, right? As long as we didn't break our arm or our leg or something, we'd probably start laughing, right? Where when we were a kid and we fell down, we were 1 or 2 or 3 years old, we cried and cried and cried because we didn't understand the world that we lived in. So what the Buddha is helping you to do is awaken to the natural laws. And one of the main natural laws that he's helping you to cultivate wisdom about or awaken to is the natural law of Kamma, because people are unawake to this natural law. This natural law is not anything mystical or magical. It's not about punishments and rewards. It's not about who's to blame or who's at fault. It's not a black cloud that's following you around. That's not what this is. But oftentimes people think of it that way, like punishments and rewards. Instead, what this natural law is cause and effect. It's action and result. Whenever you make decisions, you are going to experience a certain result, and that is your Kamma. That's the results of your decisions, right? What we oftentimes think when we experience certain unwholesome results in our life is we think that it's good luck or bad luck, or destiny or fate. Or you might think it's God or some entity called the universe that is controlling what it is that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Or we might think that it's other people that are causing us to experience a particular thing. But in reality, what the Buddha is helping you to be able to see is that it's your own decisions that are leading to any particular result that you experience. Again, it's not about blame or fault. It's none of that. It's about just seeing this sequence of events, that when you make decisions wisely, you will experience wholesome Kamma. And when you make decisions unwisely, you will experience unwholesome Kamma, or unwholesome results. And when we experience certain things in life that we particularly don't care for, and we would rather these things not occur, all we need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and we will experience different results. But if we think it's good luck or bad luck or destiny or fate or God or some entity called the universe, or it's other people that are causing us to experience certain things, then we never cultivate the wisdom, we never make different decisions, and we keep experiencing the same results over and over and over in our life. So the Buddha is helping you to awaken to this natural law. So if you need help to be able to see this natural law, because you should never believe in it, you need to be able to see the truth for yourself, is ask yourself these types of questions. Who chose where you sit right now? Who chose what clothing that you're wearing? Who chose the hairstyle that you have? Who chose whether or not you ate breakfast this morning? Who chose the friends or family that you spend time with? Who chose the location where you live? Who chose the job or occupation that you have? You should start seeing a theme here, that it's you making all these decisions. Again, it's not about blame or fault. It's just about seeing true reality, that your life is a collection of decisions that you're making. And now if there's anything that you don't particularly care for that's going on in your life that you would rather not occur, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you experience different results. This is the way that you can be empowered to be able to improve your life. But if it's any of these other things, then you're stuck. You can't change anything about your life because you can't change good luck or bad luck. You can't change destiny or fate. You can't change God or some entity called the universe, and you can't change other people. So it's kind of like this. If I was walking down the beach and there was wind blowing in my face and I was kicking up the sand and there's the sand blowing back in my face and I'm like, this is good luck or bad luck. Or this is destiny or fate, or this is God or some entity called the universe, or this is other people that are causing me to do this or experience this. Well, then I'm just going to keep walking down the beach, kicking up sand. And I just keep experiencing that my whole life, right? And that's no fun, right? But when you cultivate wisdom, you'll make different decisions and you'll experience different results. And now I'm like, oh, I'm kicking up sand. Let me stop doing this. And now you'll stop doing that. And now you'll experience walking down the beach and you'll get fresh air instead of sand blowing back in your face. So what the Buddha is doing here is he approached certain aesthetics and Brahmins. Aesthetic is someone who's given up worldly life in order to be able to go off and try to be able to get to enlightenment. You don't have to give up your current life in order to go get to enlightenment. You can actually get to enlightenment from your household life, but it was pretty common during the lifetime of the Buddha that people would walk away from their typical life in order to be able to train their mind to get to enlightenment. Because living a life in a household environment 2,500 years ago was very challenging to be able to find the time to be able to do things like train your mind. We spent a lot of time just trying to sustain our life as household practitioners 2,500 years ago. We forget how easy it is to walk over to a sink and turn a knob and we instantly get water. Where 2,500 years ago, about 2 or 3 times a week, you probably spent half a day carrying buckets back and forth from a well to your house. And this took an enormous amount of time. And not only did you do that, but you were planting, you were harvesting, you were preparing food, you were making clothes, you're doing so many different things just to sustain this life. So people would oftentimes leave that life in order to be able to train their mind to get to enlightenment. Where that's not what's required. Everybody can get to enlightenment, whether you're in a household life or in an ordained lifestyle and you're living in a temple. But oftentimes people would leave their life, and that's what an aesthetic is. What a Brahmin is this, we would probably refer to this person as a Hindu priest today. This is someone who does rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer. And what people were taught during that lifetime, and there's still people who think this way today, is that you can't improve your life. There's nothing you can do to improve your life. You've got to actually go to this other person who's going to do rituals and ceremonies and prayers on your behalf. And you pay this person a fee, and now your life is going to get better. But the Buddha knew that this isn't the way that the world works, and it bred a lot of corruption. Because if you were having difficulties in your life, you would go to this Brahmin, you would pay them a certain fee, they would do a bunch of rituals and ceremonies, and your life was supposed to get better. So if you were having difficulties with your children or your career or your husband or wife, you were supposed to go pay this money, they were going to do some rituals, and then your life was going to get better. Well, you would maybe do that, and then 3 weeks later, 3 months later, things hadn't gotten better. So you'll go back to this person and say, hey, look, things haven't gotten better. In fact, they're actually worse. And it's like, oh, there's another ceremony for that. That's going to cost you more money, right? So it kind of bred corruption. And the Buddha understood the way to improve your relationships is to cultivate wisdom, to be able to train your mind, to make better decisions. That's what's going to improve what you experience on a day-to-day basis. We might think that during the lifetime of a Buddha, that he was the only one teaching and that there was nobody else doing anything else in regards to that type of thing. But that's not true. The Buddha was teaching and he was sharing his teachings, but not everybody knew that he was a Buddha. A Buddha doesn't go around trying to convince people that they're actually a Buddha. Instead, they're just going to share their teachings and help those people who are interested in being able to get to enlightenment. So there were other people who were teaching various things. And that's what the Buddha is talking about here, is that he approached certain aesthetics and Brahmins who thought that whatever pleasure, pain, or neither pain nor pleasure that you experience, all of that is caused without any condition. There's no cause or condition that is producing that. So the happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria, or the anger, sadness, frustration, the stress, the anxiety, the loneliness, the boredom, the shyness, all of this, what the Buddha's saying is he went and approached certain people who think all of that occurs without any cause or any condition. There's nothing that's happening that's producing that. It's just kind of happening randomly, right? And he went and asked them, he said, is it true that you venerable ones hold such a doctrine in view? Is it true that you guys really think this way, that there is no cause and condition for why you experience pleasure, pain, or neither pain nor pleasure? And when he asked them this, they affirm it, meaning they said, yes, that's true. That's exactly what we think, right? Well, he says, then I say to them, in such a case, is it without a causing condition that you do any of these kinds of things? That you destroy life, that you take what is not given, that you indulge in sexual misconduct, that you speak falsehoods, meaning that you lie, that you produce argumentative speech, speak harshly, indulge in idle chatter, that you might be full of longing. This is like craving, desire, attachment. This is the mind chasing after the objects of its affection. And then there's a mind of ill will, which is anger and hostility and bitterness. And then there's this wrong view, which is the lack of wisdom that the mind has about how the world really actually functions. And he says, is there no cause and condition that's producing those things? Because what you learn in the teachings of the Buddha is that there is a cause and condition that's producing those things. For example, if somebody was stealing, taking what is not given, there's a craving, there's a longing, a yearning there that's in the mind. The mind's like, I want that. And you're not willing to work for it, so you grab it and you take it from somebody. That's the mind's longing, yearning. And you also have ill will towards this other person because you're causing harm to that person because that person worked really hard for that particular object. And if you take it from them, they're not going to be able to use it. So for example, if I stole somebody's car, I have ill will towards them. It's coming from my own craving, my own longing, yearning, but I'm also causing harm to this individual because they can't go to work. If they have children, they can't take their children to school. If they are going to buy supplies from the store in order to sustain their life and buy food and clothing and things like this, they wouldn't be able to acquire those things because they don't have the transportation. So this is me having ill will towards that person if I chose to steal their car. And where this is coming from is my lack of wisdom about how the world really works, not realizing that I'm causing harm and the harm is going to come back to me. Or for example, if I'm choosing to lie, speak falsehoods, this is also coming from craving. The mind wants something. Think back to when you were a child. The mind wanted something, and you felt like if I tell the truth, I'm not going to get what I want. So I'm not going to tell the truth here. I'm going to lie, right? So there is a cause and condition for all of these things. And the Buddha teaches you what those causes and conditions are that leads to these things so that you could no longer do it. So for example, speaking harshly, there's a cause and condition there. It's not without a cause and condition. There's an actual reason why this is occurring. It's your mind's longing, yearning. It's your craving. Your mind wants something to be done a certain way. And if it's done that way, you're happy. But if it's not done that way, you become angry and frustrated. This is the mind craving permanence, wanting everybody to do things a certain way. So if your mind is longing, yearning, and having craving and desire, you can only be happy if it's done one particular way. And if people do it that way, you're happy. But if they don't do it that way, you might be bitter and harsh and hostile towards them through your speech. And now you're damaging your relationships. But people think that that's actually coming from others, where in reality, it's coming from your own mind. It's coming from craving. So each one of these things is actually coming from the mind itself. The individual is choosing to do these things. It's not the outside world, but it's also not what the Buddha is talking about here. It's not without a cause and condition. But that's what these people are thinking, is that there is no cause and condition that these things are occurring. It just happens randomly. So the Buddha gets down to this part where he says, those who fall back on the absence of cause and condition as the essential truth, right? When they think that there is no causing condition for why these things are occurring, they have no interest to do what should be done or to avoid doing what should not be done. Meaning they're not interested in improving their life. They're not interested in becoming a better and better person. They're not interested in applying effort to do what should be done, meaning wise decision making, or not to do what should not be done. He says, or avoid doing what should not be done here. Nor do they make an effort in this respect, right? They don't make an effort to improve what it is they experience. Since they do not apprehend as true and valid anything that should be done or should not be done, they are muddle-minded. What this means is that they're lacking concentration, because when you have pollution in your mind, these pollutions that the Buddha discovered, your mind will be muddled. It'll be very difficult for you to have concentration and focus and clarity in the way that you interact with other people. But when you train your mind and you uproot these pollutions, you'll see that your mind focus is very crisp, very clear, it's very sharp. But for someone whose mind doesn't understand the way that the world truly works, the mind's going to be muddled. It's going to be lacking concentration and focus. They do not guard the mind. The Buddha, when he talks about guarding the mind, you can see this in other parts of his teachings, that he talks about this mindfulness or this awareness of mind. That's the guard of your mind. Because while you're in training to get to enlightenment, you're going to notice anger and frustration and irritation and all these other feelings arising in your mind. And if you're watching over your mind with mindfulness, you're guarding your mind. And where you see those feelings to start to come into the mind, you can cut them off and let them go. That's why we were doing that breathing mindfulness meditation where we're focused on the breath. And anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. You're building this internal mechanism in the mind that you can cut off and let go. Because if you're guarding your mind, let's just say you're checking in at an airport and you're thinking that your flight's going to leave in about 1 hour. But when you go to check in, they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry, sir. You can't check in right now. Your flight's not leaving for 3 hours." And you notice your anger starting to arise. Well, if you're watching over your mind, you can cut that off and let it go, right? And eventually, if you do that enough, you won't experience any anger and hostility. It just won't be there because you understand that what you're facing is impermanence. That's all it is the world is impermanent. Not every airplane is going to take off on time. Some airplanes will take off on time. Some airplanes will take off late. And some airplanes even take off early, right? This is just normal. This is the way the world works. But if you have a craving for permanence, which is what the unenlightened mind has, it wants every airplane to take off on time. And now you won't be guarding your mind because you think that anger and hostility just arises randomly without a causing condition. But if you understand that there's a causing condition here that's arising that there's craving, desire, attachment that is going to produce these feelings, now you will guard your mind. You'll watch over your mind because you know it's coming from your own mind. And now when you pay attention to your mind and you guard it, now you can eventually train it to the point where it no longer experiences anger and hostility. You're not suppressing your feelings or repressing your feelings. You're actually cutting it off and letting it go before it even becomes a feeling. The Buddha teaches you to watch it as a bodily sensation, because before you become angry or frustrated, there's going to be some bodily sensation. It's going to be like tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. This is the early warning system alerting you you're about to get angry. You're about to experience frustration or agitation or annoyance. And if you can clue into that, if you can watch over your mind, you can guard your mind. And then when you see it coming, you can cut it off and let it go. Because once it comes into the mind, you've got a real problem to deal with. You've got to get it out. It's kind of like if you were going to take a boat from Canada to the UK, you would like to prevent the water from ever coming into the boat, because once the water comes in the boat, you've got a real problem to deal with. But if you can prevent it from ever coming into the boat, you can sail straight across the sea, right? So it's the same kind of thing that you would like to prevent these feelings from coming into their mind. Again, you're not suppressing your feelings or repressing them. You're actually cutting it off and letting it go before it even becomes a feeling. But you're going to need to train your mind to be able to do this. You can't just listen to what I'm saying here and then go out into the world and just magically start doing this. There's a whole path that the Buddha taught. And that's where the foundational classes come into play, that you're going to need to learn those foundational teachings of how to actively train your mind. In fact, on Monday morning, 2 days from now, I'm going to be teaching the entire path of the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha that's guiding you to enlightenment. So if you're interested, you can learn that as part of that course that I'm teaching next week. You can learn it just there, or you can learn the entire course. It's really up to you. You can come and go as you please. But nonetheless, the Buddha here is talking about how an individual who doesn't understand that there's causes and conditions that are leading to their discontent feelings, that they don't guard their mind. And you can understand why, because they think that it's just random. And then ultimately he says, even the personal designation aesthetic could not be legitimately applied to them. If they don't understand that there's a cause and condition of why these discontent feelings are arising, then what he's saying is you're not even on the path to enlightenment. Because someone who was an ascetic during his lifetime is someone who's trying to get to enlightenment. And if you can't legitimately apply this term of ascetic to this person, what the Buddha is saying is you can't even say you're on the path to enlightenment, because you're not doing this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development to train your mind. You think there is no reason why there's a cause and condition of why these feelings arise. So that's what he's saying here in this particular teaching, helping you to be able to see that there is a cause and condition. This is what his other teachings share with you, is there is a cause and condition why all these feelings arise. It's called craving, desire, attachment. The mind's wanting, expecting. The mind's longing, yearning. If the mind gets what it wants and what it expects, it will get pleasant feelings. So if you're walking through the mall and you see a brand new pair of shoes and you're like, oh my gosh, those shoes are so awesome. Oh, I can't wait to get them on my feet. Oh, they're going to look so good. This is the mind's craving. This is the longing, yearning, right? And if you go into the shoe store and they have your size, you're so happy because your craving is being fulfilled. But if you go into the shoe store and they don't have your shoes and they don't have your size, you'll be angry. You'll be frustrated or irritated. It's coming from your craving, your desire, your longing, yearning. You can only be happy if you get what you want. That's what's causing all of this. And this is the natural law of Kamma, of cause and effect. That whenever you have craving in your mind, the effect is it's going to produce discontentedness. And you can see this through other teachings of the Buddha. He teaches this, and then you can independently verify it through many different examples. You can see in your own life how your mind does this. So do you guys have questions on this one? I don't usually explain each one for this amount of time, but since this is the first one, I thought I would just kind of like spend my time to help you guys to understand it and kind of the natural law as a whole. So if you guys have questions, remember we have microphones here. And for those of you guys online, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions you like. So any questions you guys have? Okay, I don't see any questions here or online. Okay, so what you have here in all of these books is you have these words of the Buddha in each one of these chapters. You have a reference here. This reference takes you back to the original source teachings in the Pali Canon. Because remember, it's 45 volumes of books this big. You're not interested in believing anything. Don't believe me. Don't believe the books I write. Don't believe what other people write either. You need to be able to learn, investigate, and examine teachings. You need to be able to reflect on them to verify if they're true or false. And then you need to practice teachings. This is how you're going to get to wisdom and be able to train your mind to awaken to these natural laws. So this is a reference to show you where this came from, so that if you would ever be interested in going back and seeing the actual original source, you can go back and see it. So you can see that this didn't just come out of the thin blue sky. Instead, it actually came from the Pali Canon. And then what you got after that is you've got words from me that are helping you to understand how to integrate this into your life. Because the Buddha teaches very clear, very concise, and very precise, but it helps to have a dedicated practitioner and teacher to guide you through your learning. You are your own independent journey to enlightenment. You're not a follower. You're not a devotee. You're somebody who's looking to cultivate wisdom. And what a teacher is like a tour guide, pointing out for you the things that you need to learn and understand in order to be able to get to enlightenment, and then providing you the resources to be able to do that. So what I'm doing here with my words is helping you to be able to understand how this fits in to other teachings and how to be able to get benefit out of this through integrating it into your day-to-day life. So each one of these chapters has that. So this is chapter 22. Is there someone who would like to read this one? Yeah, Vibhav. I think your mic might be on over there. Is your mic on? No? Okay. Must have been Vibhav's.
Worst kind of doctrine that there is no karma. Monks, a hair blanket is declared to be the worst kind of woven garment. A hair blanket is cold in cold weather, hot in hot weather, ugly, foul-smelling, and uncomfortable. So the doctrine of Makali is declared the worst among the doctrines of the ascetics.
It's just impermanence.
The unwise man Makali teaches the doctrine and view. There is no karma, no deed, no. That is not only is there also no.
The batteries are pretty low. Might need to turn them off too, Vibhav, if they're not already.
The unwise man Makali teaches the doctrine and view. There is no karma, no deed, no energy. That is, not only is there no result from karma, but also no karma itself. All deeds are null. Monks, the fortunate ones, arahants, the perfectly enlightened ones of the past, taught a doctrine of karma, a doctrine of deeds, a doctrine of energy. Yet the unwise man Makali contradicts them with his claim, there is no karma, no deed, no energy. The fortunate ones, arahants, the perfectly enlightened ones of the future, will also teach a doctrine of karma, a doctrine of deeds, a doctrine of energy. Yet the unwise man Makali contradicts them with his claim, there is no karma, no deed, no energy. At present I am the arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, and I teach a doctrine of karma, a doctrine of deeds, a doctrine of energy. Yet the unwise man Makali contradicts me with his claim, there is no karma, no deed, no energy. Just as a trap set at the mouth of a river would bring about harm, pain, calamity, and disaster to many fish, so too the unwise man Makali is, as it were, a trap for people who has arisen in the world for the harm, pain, calamity, and disaster of many beings. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vibhav. So here, the Buddha is commenting about an individual who teaches that there's no such thing as karma, that it doesn't exist, that there is no cause and effect, that there is no choices that you're making that's leading to any particular result that you experience. There's plenty of people who think this way today. In fact, some of you guys might think this way, but this individual was actually teaching this to other people, that there's no cause and condition for the reason why things occur in the world the way that they occur. So the Buddha teaches this cause and effect, this action and results, and you can independently verify this for yourself. You can see the truth for yourself. For example, like right now, you're just sitting here listening to somebody speak. That's all you're doing. You're making a harmless decision. You're not causing anybody any harm. Now, if you cause someone harm to their physical body, their material possessions, or their reputation, that's a harmful decision. And you'll experience harmful results. You'll experience unwholesome karma. But when you're making harmless decisions, meaning you're not causing any harm, then there's no harm that's going to come to you. That's why by you just sitting here listening to someone speak, there's no harm coming to you because you're not causing any harm. I don't suggest you do this, but if you started poking the person's eyes next to you, took your finger and started poking them in the eye, you're causing harm now. You're causing harm to their physical body, and there's going to be some harm that comes to you. They'll probably slap your hand out of their face or whatever it is that they might do. They might get up and move to a different location. Any number of things can occur because in that situation, you're now causing harm. So you can't cause other people to be discontent. You can't cause them anger, sadness, or frustration. So just like your mind causes your own anger, sadness, and frustration, and all these other feelings, it's the same thing that's true about other people's minds as well. You can't cause them to be discontent, but you can cause them harm. If you cause harm to their physical body, their material possessions, or their reputation, this is going to produce harm. So now harm is going to come back to you. But for someone who's out there teaching this, that there is no cause and condition for why things are occurring, what the Buddha is saying is this is a trap. Because now, if you learn that and you think that, you'll go out into the world and do any number of things. You'll go out there and make all kinds of unwise decisions, and you'll start experiencing all this harm coming back to you, and you won't have any understanding of why that's the case. So that's why the Buddha said there's this calamity that is being caused. There's this trap. There's this disaster for many beings, this harm and pain that is going to be occurring. Because when you go out into the world thinking that your decisions aren't what's producing any particular result that you're experiencing, you'll go out into the world with that lack of wisdom and make all kinds of unwise decisions. And now you'll experience these unwholesome results coming back to you. So any questions on this particular teaching here? This is chapter 22. The worst kind of teachings, that there is no Kamma. That's the worst kind of teachings because it's not true and it's going to lead to your harm, your pain, and your calamity. Yes, ma'am. If you could get those mics there. Those usually work really, really well.
I understand that there is a cause and effect, and I really don't want to cause any pain to others. But sometimes I think that my longings might bring unhappiness to others, even it's not out of my will. But I don't know. I think that sometimes makes me really unhappy. That I find there is a possibility. That I might hurt others. Even it is out of my view. And I also have a question that let
me answer your first one first, if I could. Okay. So the first one is, if somebody is mentally experiencing any kind of painful feelings, it's not coming from you. I understand that this is the way you might currently think, and many people in the world think this way, but it's not coming from you. For example, let's just say your parents really want you to be a doctor, and they're putting all this pressure on you to be a doctor. And let's just say you decide to be an actress, and you decide to go off into the world and be an actress, right? And they're hurt, and they're experiencing painful feelings. That's just because their expectations aren't getting met. They're longing, yearning for you to do this, but you're choosing to do this. And they can only be happy if you do it their way. This is their mind's craving and their expectation. So their mind is causing their own discontentedness, because in reality, a better way to live life is just whatever you would like to do. We support you no matter what you choose. It's your life. It's your decisions. Make whatever decision you like. And we're here to support you and love you unconditionally. That's what you would like to be able to get to, but most people don't function that way. They want to put expectations on others and try to force other people to do things a certain way, and they can only be happy if it's being done that way. That's their mind craving permanence. And the Buddha is teaching you how to get rid of all of that. So if someone else is experiencing painful feelings, it's coming from their own mind. Just like you experiencing painful feelings when you see other people having painful feelings, that's coming from your mind too. That you're wanting, say, mom and dad to be permanently happy. The mind's craving them to be permanently happy. And now when you see that they're angry, you might be upset. You might be sad, because now you're craving them to be a certain way permanently. And because they are not enlightened, they're going to experience anger. They're going to experience sadness and frustration, or they're going to have disappointment and other feelings like this. But it's your craving for permanence, wanting them to be a certain way, that's producing your sadness. So if you get rid of that and you realize that the world is impermanent, meaning things are constantly changing, and you understand your parents, I don't know that you're talking about your parents, but I'm just using it as an example. If you understand that your parents are impermanent, their mind is not trained, it's not enlightened, so therefore they're going to sometimes be happy and excited, and sometimes they're going to be sad and frustrated and irritated and annoyed. That's the impermanent nature of the unenlightened mind. So if you understand that and you can train your mind to let that go, now you're not basing your feelings on what other people are experiencing. Because if you base your feelings on what other people are experiencing, you'll never be happy. You'll never be content and peaceful, because your mind's, if you're with someone who's sad and frustrated, you'll be sad and frustrated. If you're with someone who's happy and excited, you'll be happy and excited. If you're with someone who's irritated and annoyed, you'll be irritated and annoyed. But what you would like to do is get to a point where your emotions and your feelings aren't based on what other people are doing. And the Buddha refers to this as liberation. or freedom, that your mind is now free. Where when your mind isn't trained that way, it's not free, it's bound up because you're forming your feelings and emotions based on these external circumstances. So for example, if someone gets really happy and excited when it's sunny outside, that means when it rains, you'll be sad and frustrated, right? Or if your bank account balance is here and you get really happy and excited, that means when it goes down here, you'll be sad and frustrated. And you'd like to get to the point where you can be happy if it's sunny or it's raining, you can maintain your happiness. Or if your bank account balance is here or here, you can still maintain your happiness, that your happiness isn't based on external things. So we call this conditional feelings, that the mind is experiencing these conditional feelings. And that's what you're looking to eliminate. You would like to get to a point where your mind is experiencing unconditioned mental qualities, where your mind doesn't need any condition met in order to experience the happiness and those joy that's in the mind, the cheerfulness and the radiance and the brightness and the gladness. And that's what you're capable of if you train your mind to get to enlightenment.
Okay, thank you. I think I can understand it better. And I have another question is about the longings. Does Buddhism means that we need to give up all our longings in life? And I find it really difficult. And besides, is the longing for enlightenment also the thing we need to give up?
Okay, so any kind of longing, yearning is going to produce discontentedness. It's only a matter of time. So if you're longing, yearning, and chasing after money, you can only be happy when you get your money. And in some cases, you don't get your money and now you're upset or angry. But even if you get your money, that happiness is going to fade away. Like if you want $50,000 a year and you work really, 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 really hard to get that, and your boss gives you $50,000 a year, well, you'll be happy temporarily, but then you're going to want more and more and more and more. And you're just going to keep chasing after it. So if you're chasing after things, you can't be permanently happy because you're either going to get what you want and be happy, but that's going to fade away, or you're not going to get what you want and now you're going to be sad and frustrated. So the longing, yearning is producing discontentedness. You can't be permanently peaceful and happy there. If you swing all the way to the other side, which is what most people can understand, like, well, if I'm not chasing after things, I'm going to come over here where I'm dull and lethargic and lazy. You're not going to be peaceful and joyful there either. So what the Buddha is teaching you to do is come to the middle, where you gradually pursue your goals and objectives or interests with enthusiasm and ambition, but without chasing and chasing and chasing and forming your feelings on whether you get this thing or not. Right now, if you have a goal and you get it and you're happy and you don't get it and you're sad, that's not a goal. That's a craving. That's a longing. That's a yearning. So you can pursue things through wise decision making. So the Buddha had one of the most ambitious goals, I think, possible, that 2,500 years ago, he was interested in seeing his teachings reach the entire world. But he realized it wasn't going to be during his life because he spoke a very regionalized language. Travel wasn't very easy, and his teachings weren't going to spread during his life. But each day, he did what he needed to do in order to bring the teachings into the world, that at some point in the future, right now, we can actually share the teachings worldwide because we now have an international language that a lot of us speak, and now the teachings can spread all throughout the world. So he was working towards a goal that he was never going to achieve during his lifetime, but he could maintain his happiness. He could maintain his joy. He wasn't chasing after it, but he also wasn't on the other side where he was dull and lethargic. He just gradually made decisions towards that objective each day. If somebody was chasing after enlightenment, they would never get to it because the mind's longing, yearning for it. But if they were on the other side where they could care less about what's going on in their life and in their mind, they're never going to get to it there either. So you need to come to the middle where you're gradually pursuing it through wise decision making. It's not the object itself that determines whether it's a craving, desire, attachment or not. It's how the mind's pursuing it. I'll give you an example so you can see this more clearly. If I was going on a hike and I had a liter of water in my car and I drove to the trail and I got out and I left my water in the car, maybe I'm 30 minutes down the trail and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot my water. And I run back to my car, I twist my ankle, I throw open the door to the car. Oh, water, right? My mind's discontent in this situation because I'm having longing, yearning, and I'm craving for that water to be permanent. Because there could be another person on the trail who also brought their liter of water, and they left it in the car. And now 30 minutes down the trail, they're like, I forgot my water. You know what? I'm going to be out here for a long time, about 6 or 8 hours. I should probably go get my water. And now they calmly make their way back to their car and they get their water. And now they go on their hike, right? So the object is exactly the same here, the liter of water. But the thing that's different is the first person, their mind was longing, yearning, craving permanence, and it was shaken up when their mind didn't get what they wanted. So getting to enlightenment, if someone's craving it, they're chasing after it, and they'll never get to it that way. But if they're on the other side where they don't care, they're coming to the temple once a year, they're learning in books and meditating once, a year, once every 6 months, you're not going to get to enlightenment in this life. But if you come to the middle where you're gradually pursuing it through wise decision making, you're not chasing it, you're just gradually walking towards it through wise decisions, you can pursue enlightenment in this way and you can attain it. So it's not the fact that somebody's interested in attaining enlightenment that makes it a longing, yearning. It's the way the mind pursues it. And that's what the Buddha is teaching how to do, is come to the middle. And you would like to do that with every single thing in your life, whether it's your career, your personal life, your relationships, acquiring the resources that you need to sustain your life. You'd like to gradually walk towards them through wise decision making. And that's what's going to produce the wholesome results in the peaceful mind and the peaceful life.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So normally I just kind of teach up to about 10:30 in this class. I have a class on Saturday night at 9 p.m. that I do from home that I teach 10 chapters. Here, we just had time for about 2 chapters because I usually need to do some background information, helping you guys to understand some things. And we also do meditation too here, where in the evenings, I don't do meditation because those students tend to have their own practice developed. They've been studying with me for a while. So if you're interested in exploring this kind of learning more, the Saturday evening at 9 p.m., it's strictly online though. I don't do it from here. You're welcome to join and I'll cover all 10 chapters. Or if you'd like to join some of the more foundational programs, Sunday, Wednesday, next week, you'll see all these options on our bulletin board over there. And you'll also see it on our website as well. That's a central hub that has everything that we offer. So if you guys would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to come and learn through some of these other options. So I'm just going to end here by thanking all of you guys for joining, and thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings. Whatever you do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee khap. Sawadee khap. Oh, I'm sorry. I see a question there from Chris, I think. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.